Couple months back, we had our very first taste of the great sport of handball on this show. We spoke to Team Canada member Haven Wong about her experiences in playing the sport in Canada. Today, we are going to continue to talk about handball, but about the sport in Australia, my homeland. And I'm so excited to be able to welcome to the podcast a member of the Australian national team. Part of that team since back in 2012 has gone to World Championships, Oceania Championships, traveling the world, playing the great sport. And it's actually speaking to us from the other side of the world too, which I'm excited to learn a little bit more about his experiences then. It's a pleasure to welcome to Off the Podium, Caleb Gahen. Caleb, first of all, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on today.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, pleasure to be here, actually. It should be fun. Love chatting about handball in Australia.
That's what we want. That's what we want to hear. We want to hear that enthusiasm because I absolutely love handball. I talked a lot about that with Haven. I've talked a lot about it on the show over the years because it is such a fun, unique sport that as Australians, we don't really get to see too much, do we?
No, definitely. It's becoming a little more prominent now, obviously, in this internet age. But it used to be, you catch it on the Olympics every 4 years, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's sort of. I mean, we think of handball, don't we, as something a little bit different. The old four square, sort of in the recess and lunch playgrounds growing up, which I actually saw. That's technically called Australian handball, and then we refer to what you play as European. I didn't realise that was technically based in Australia. I thought that was based elsewhere as well.
Yeah, no, there you go. That's a conversation I've had many a time when I tell people I play handball. Not this one. No. I call that four square.
Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
to make it really simple, and then handball.
Yeah, you kind of use when Kevin Rudd at that period of time was like, I'm the king of handball. You're thinking like, oh, he's going to go to the Olympics, is he? Like he's trying something new.
Yeah, exactly.
But, not quite that way. But I mean, got to start with the obvious question though, Caleb. A sport that, as we are talking about right now, not huge in Australia. How do you get involved in the sport of handball?
It's a long story. We can sort of condense it down a little bit. And it's an interesting challenge that I think was faced by a lot of people. So I saw it at the Sydney Olympics and great, really excited. I really want to play this sport. Went to school. I think I was, must have been 12, 13 at the time. Went to school, checked with the PE teacher. Hey, I want to play this sport. Any idea where I can? No idea. Can't tell me. It was 5 years later, just coincidentally going to school with a girl. Her dad was involved. He actually came along, recruited my sister, who was a netball player. God, you play netball, you might want to try this. So she started playing, and I was like, hey, that's that sport that I wanted to play 5 years ago. So here I go. Well, I play everything else, baseball, basketball, volleyball, soccer. So combine all those skills into one. Here's handball.
Simple, easy, which I'm glad you brought up the Sydney Olympics because I was going to ask that sort of based on your age and sort of, kind of obviously remembering the Olympics back then. But I mean, did you have tickets to it? Did you see it on TV? Sort of what was your, experiences watching it in Sydney?
Yeah, just on TV, the handball, it was, we went down, we actually did go down to Sydney for the Olympics. And then I think just one night, it must have been 11:30 or something, flicking through the Olympic channels and they were showing a replay of Australia. I don't even remember who they were playing against. But yeah.
That's simple.
Pretty interested from that point on.
I remember those days vividly of good old television broadcasting of the Olympics because obviously now we're spoiled for choice, right? You can go on the app, you can choose to watch handball the whole time. I did it a lot during Tokyo the other year, whereas back then you would have to stay up till the wee hours of the morning and hope that Channel 7 would show sort of the more obscure sports that weren't swimming for about 18 hours of the day.
Yeah, catch it on SBS if you were lucky.
Yeah.
But,
That's true.
I don't know if it's sort of like, I think around 2012 was when we sort of had more people luck into it. I think now with the app, people are choosing what they want to watch and less people choose handball,
Yeah.
It's nice when it's just sort of, no, you have to watch handball.
It's exactly like this is what's on and this is what's going to watch it. Yeah. But when you sort of discover the sport and you say you speak to your PE teacher, don't know how to get involved in it, but when you do sort of get that connection and you found yourself pursuing this, how hard was it to get into it from that point on? Was there many places in your local area where you could take the sport up?
Yeah, it's difficult. Like a lot of universities are going to have teams or clubs, because obviously there's a large base of players that are exchange students from Germany, France, from Scandinavia. And then in Australia, I mean, when I started playing, we had a lot of people from the Balkans who'd obviously families had left former Yugoslavia in the early 90s, brought them to Australia. So I started playing at Griffith University back in 2006, and it was a whole bunch of Serbian guys. So obviously it's not super easy to get into. I think I was 17, rock up to university with a bunch of sort of 23, 24-year-old Serbian guys all speaking a different language. Look, they were perfectly nice guys. I was still, really good friends with a lot of them. But, obviously as a 17-year-old kid, it's a little confronting or intimidating from the start. But.
Yeah, I can imagine. Which I found it fascinating because I think I spoke to Haven about the fact that I remember in high school in like year 8, year 9, we kind of did like a week, of European handball, right? Like it was kind of let's give this a go. And that was it. And I grew up in Tasmania. Notice that there is no Tasmanian State Federation for handball. So that's a conversation we might need to get off there. Get off there, Caleb. But I mean, it's still fascinating to see that obviously it kind of goes through that because you see that with a lot of fringe sports, don't you, in Australia? I've been involved in ice hockey a lot, and you sort of get a lot of those expats who come along and get involved. And you need those sort of people to kind of really give it a bit of a kick up the butt sometimes, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. I think sort of, in handball, there's obviously a threshold. You need a certain number of players before anything is viable. And that's something that, like in Australia, we've been dependent on them. And it's obviously helped a lot in terms of, hey, like we can have higher level competition because sometimes you'll get guys who are, they spent their whole life growing up playing in Germany. They played a really high level and, they just sort of reached the point where, like I play semi-professional handball, but it's never going to be a career. So I'm going to do university and do some exchange. So you get some like very high level players and it bolsters, I guess, the level of competition in Australia.
Goes that
so it's
way.
great to have them around. But obviously now we have this 2032 Olympics and it's like the focus has to be a little more on how do we get more Australian guys involved in developing that sort of thing.
Because it is a very unique period we're in right now, isn't it? Because I was going to ask just in terms of the flow-on effect that Sydney had on the sport, but it sort of transitions into such a brief window in Australian history where we've got 2 home Olympics in such a short period of time. So I guess the long-winded way of asking, was there much of a flow-on effect after Sydney, or is it more of a case of we're seeing more of that happening now given we've got such a long lead into Brisbane?
Yeah, I think a lot of people who are around in the Sydney Olympics will tell you that, like, oh, hey, like it wasn't quite prepared, for the post-Olympics, I guess, boost in the number and the interest. But, I don't know how much you can fault the organisation versus just how large the country is. We still have people. I still regularly, scrolling through our local club Facebook page and someone sent us a message, oh, hey, I'm up in Rockhampton, I'd love to play handball. And I'm like, well, your choice is to drive 8 hours down to Brisbane for your 2-hour training session and then go home, or start your own club. So people will sort of say like, oh, look, like we weren't prepared, we need to have more clubs in more places, but that requires volunteers, that requires boots on the ground, so we still have those issues, but I guess, I don't know, just with the ease of how easy it is to get information out there about the sport, about where people can play, it's definitely improving.
Which is, I guess, what you want to see with any of these sports, because obviously the pinnacle of handball is the Olympics. And I guess realistically, from an Australian perspective, is our only real chance of making an Olympics hosting an Olympics? Like, how far away would Australia be from qualifying outside of hosting an Olympics?
Oh yeah, it's a long, convoluted path for us to qualify nowadays. It's I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's a number of steps up. So at the moment, our path is we have the Asian Championships, which qualifies us for the World Championship, and then based on your position in the World Championship. You can directly qualify if you win the World Championship, but let's not put ourselves in that boat.
Dream high.
And then there are a number of sort of, there are a number sort of like based on your ranking, depending where sort of continental champs finish. There's 3 like smaller Olympic qualification tournaments. I guess the dream would be to qualify for one of those Olympic qualifying tournaments. I think like if absolutely everything went our way, we could finish 17th at the World Championship out of 24, and you qualify for one of those tournaments. And then, I mean, look, like they're tournaments of 4 teams and 2 teams qualify. So I don't know, if you get lucky and have your absolute best day while someone else has their worst day.
You never know.
It's possible, I guess.
And so is Australia involved in Asia then, sort of similar to football, where we're sort of not involved in Oceania anymore?
Yeah, exactly. So we used to just have the direct spot. Oceania had 1 spot straight to the World Championships. So they took that away. So I played in 2013. That's how we got to the World Championships. And then after that, they took that away. There's a little bit of political discussion about that. But we won't get into that. Look, like ultimately, it was probably the correct decision. We weren't at the standard where, winning an Oceania should really earn you the right to be at the World Championship. So it's good for us to be in Asia. It probably gets us more games at closer to our level. In terms of developing and getting better, it's good for us, but it just means that it's we have to finish 5th in the Asian Championships to then get to the World Championships. And we've had like sort of 11th, 12th place finishes at Asian Champs, with some close games that could have pulled us up into the top 8. So like that sort of pathway, it's conceivable, but it's going to take some hard work. We sort of throw away the last Asian Championships as COVID and all sorts of nonsense going on there.
bit of some after dark stories here. I'm seeing, Caleb, that we could sort of do an entire series, I think, kind of on this. But I mean, just one more thing, just so in the lead up to Brisbane, obviously you weren't involved in the sport, very young in the lead up to Sydney, but through stories or kind of what you've sort of heard, given that there's a 10-year gap. I mean, there was an 11-year gap, let's be honest, when Brisbane was announced before 2032, which is obviously a few more years longer than the general cycle would have been back for Sydney. Does that, do you think, in a way, help a sport like handball to be able to attract those players, to get the team up to a standard where not only are we going to be showing up in Brisbane in 9 years' time, but we can be competitive in Brisbane in 9 years' time?
Yeah, 100%. Because there's sort of two phases to it, really. We have to get more people involved in the sport to get a better chance of like some higher quality athletes coming through. But then we have the other challenge of getting those athletes more experience at a higher level of handball. As much as I'd love it to be, like, the standard in Australia is not good enough for someone to develop into an Olympic athlete at this stage. So at this stage, it's either the standard in Australia has got to get a lot better, or you've got to get a couple of individuals who get good enough and then take a chance, head on over to Europe, see if they can apply their trade there and really bump up their experience and their just sort of match, I guess, knowledge and skill set.
How does that place you, though? I'm interested in just based on your age. I don't know what the peak age is for a handball athlete, but I mean, this is a home city Olympics for you, so you'll be, like 43, won't you, by then? So, I mean, like, does that just...
I will be 43.
Do you think about that? Do you push on? Like, can my 43-year-old body make it to a home city Olympics?
Look, I don't know if you remember this, but right when it was announced, that was about a month or two after Tom Brady won his last Super Bowl at 43.
Yes.
Hey. It's definitely in the back of my mind. I threw it straight out there. Look, like 10 years. I don't know if I can do it. I'm not throwing it out yet, but I think I've reached the point where I can help handball in Australia more as a coach. So I'm actually a strength and conditioning coach. And I think I can probably provide more benefit to the team if I move into that space.
Just being involved somewhere, though, right, Caleb? Right, like you kind of want to have your hat around there.
Like, I'm gonna be in the Olympics. Don't worry about that. It's just a matter of whether I'll be on the court or on the sideline.
For sure. Which have you actually experienced? Have you gone to an Olympics to watch it before?
No, not live. So what do we got? Paris, it's definitely on my mind. So I live in the UK now, so Paris might be the chance to get there and see it live. But yeah, no Olympics so far. World champs I've been to and a European championship, but no Olympics.
Because it's that passion, right? Europe, right? And France, obviously, are pretty darn good at handball. Last couple of gold medals have come their way. So, I mean, I will say, Caleb, I have gotten tickets to the Olympics and I am going to see both the bronze medal matches of the handball. Beyond excited. So, I mean, what can I expect as somebody who has never seen a handball game live to see it at an Olympics in Paris?
Yeah, geez, wow, you should. That should be actually super exciting. Obviously, you're going to get a fairly passionate atmosphere. I mean, it depends, I guess, if France. I think you can probably expect them to go to the gold medal game. So we'll see who turns up in the bronze medal game. But regardless of who it is, there's always passionate fans who are making the journey. A lot of those countries just have insane fans. To me, it's crazy. Actually, the women. The Hungarian national team, they just have this entourage of fans that follow them around. It's a marching band essentially in every stadium. And it's just, I think to me, that was one of the best atmospheres I've ever been. I actually saw Hungary play, they were playing against Norway at the Women's European Championship. And that was, it's a lot of fun to be involved in for sure.
So you're saying I've secretly got to cheer for Hungary to get to the medal rounds and hopefully maybe they'll lose the semis and we get a bronze medal Hungarian appearance.
Yeah, something like that. If you got maybe like a Hungary, Montenegro, that'd be an atmosphere.
All right. Can't say I've ever gone to a sporting event and cheered for Hungary and Montenegro, but hey, there's always a first. I'm always open to new opportunities and new experiences, Caleb. So
it'd be a lot of fun.
I'll remember that. Just sort of backtracking to progression that you had once you started playing handball, and as I mentioned at the top, first appearance for Australia in 2012. What is that progression like? So you're playing in Queensland, you're playing sort of at that period. Is it just a case of you go to national championships and selectors kind of see how good you are and then go, "G'day, Caleb, how you doing? Want to come play for Australia?"
Yeah, basically. So, we have the junior national championships, so under 18, under 21. Those are, and from there, actually, in 2007, I went to a youth world championship. So played a couple of years at the under 18 national championships, was doing pretty well with it. So yeah, invited down to be part of the squad in the lead up to that youth world championship. Selected from there. And basically from there, it was, okay, guys, like, congratulations, good youth championship. Now, if you want to come be part of the men's squad, the extended squad, by all means, we want to get you guys in and training and, bump up the level a little bit. So, yeah. And from there, like, okay, so part of the national squad, but also just sort of plugging away. I had a few more years of juniors and then into sort of the senior national championships and definitely see how you go from there.
Rest is history. Which was that sort of the aspirations once you started, I guess, getting good enough that you were making state squads and everything was to eventually don the green and gold?
Yeah, I don't know exactly when it sort of became a goal. Like, definitely the youth world championship was not something I'd ever really thought about. It was just, hey, I play handball. Like, oh yeah, I'm pretty good at this. And actually, we've got an invite this year to the youth world championship. Yeah, cool. Like, definitely. And from there, seeing some of the guys at the level there. So we saw Denmark. I mean, we played against Sweden and Korea, who were just incredible at the youth level. And then I think we watched the final, which was a Denmark-Croatia game. Jeez, like, just the level and I guess the atmosphere there and just the skills that those guys were putting on show, that was when it really was like, oh, look, like, if I want to do this, I'm going to, like, let's have a real crack at it. And I think from there it was, let's go. National team, I want to get back to the World Championships, see some of these guys again, see if I can mix it up with them. But, yeah.
Fantastic. And the national team, am I not mistaken, are called the Crocodiles? Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. We're not entirely sure where it came from. So, like, this is just we did the classic, right? So, I mean, obviously, like, as social media started taking off, okay, we better get ourselves an Instagram. It's just a couple of the players who are handling it. Oh, do we have a nickname? Let's just Google that. So we just Googled and on the Wikipedia, here's a list of Australian team.
I was going to say, did you have to like make sure
it
it wasn't taken, right? Like, you know, because we've got a lot that have been taken already.
Yeah, no. So there we were, the Crocodiles, and apparently we're the only ones. So
what are the women called? Do the women have a nickname?
I don't think so, actually.
Oh, geez. Well,
we're going to go give themselves one, huh?
I know. They need to work on that, I feel. The Croquettes, I don't know. That probably doesn't sound right. I have no idea.
Crocodilians.
Crocodilians. I have no idea.
It's interesting, but because our new coach, he's back coaching us now, Tape Ramadani, who was one of the Sydney Olympians. He said he was around when the Crocs nickname came about, and apparently it was just one of the guys just decided probably in a fairly similar interview that we're the Crocs.
Why not? Well, I mean, it's an obvious one. You feel how that wasn't taken. You know, that's kind of a very obvious Australian animal that you think somebody would have.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, quite formidable. I like it.
Yeah, that works well. Well, I think, you know, our goal between now and Brisbane, then if the women don't have a nickname, then that's our goal. We'll get them a nickname ahead of that. I mean, I love scouting out nicknames because obviously we've got a big Canadian connection on this team, and they look at us weirdly. They're like, why do you name all your teams after animals? And it's like, well, because it's cool, right? And then you try and get the ones in Australia that don't have nicknames. I'm trying to get the Moguls team to call themselves the Bumperoos. So hopefully that will take off eventually. But, you know, I don't know if they've formally adopted that yet, Kayla. But I like the Crocodiles is just so natural. And it's, as you said, it's fierce. And do you have like merch? Like now that you've got this Instagram, like do you kind of think you can get some merch, or do we have to work on that in the next 9 years ahead of Brisbane?
We have a little bit of merch, but it's not a lot. I mean, you can buy yourself a playing jersey, get your name on it if you want.
Good to know.
That's sort of the extent of it.
I'm a jersey man, Caleb. I'll get one of those.
Fan merch.
I think there needs to be.
You know what we need is those clapping arms with the crocodile teeth on them.
Hey.
And then in the stadium, everyone can.
Everyone in Brisbane will have those. I mean, it's a Queensland animal, basically. So, I mean, you know, it fits into the environment and everything along those lines. So, plenty of marketing opportunities here. Get the kids involved, right? It's all about the kids, getting them on the court and everything along those lines. I love the level, though, that you can kind of do with things like that. And then, obviously, I sort of got connected through you after finding the Instagram page you mentioned and through to the website, because that, going back to marketing the sport and getting people involved, is a key thing nowadays, isn't it? Social media.
Oh, for sure. I mean, as I spoke about, when I was trying to get into the sport and just had to chat to my PE teacher versus what you can achieve now. I mean, like, if I go on and just Google, hey, I want to play handball in Brisbane, bang, 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 there's a couple of results. Like, it's helped so much, obviously. Like, and now we're getting kids involved more and more. Obviously, social media has been a big game changer in terms of those, I guess. I mean, handball, but obviously all those fringe sports are really benefiting from that sort of thing.
Because I talked to Haven a little bit about the fact that in the lead up to her interview, I discovered that handball video games exist. And I mean, you know, little things like that can all of a sudden get kids interest and everything. I mean, I got to ask you, do you play, you know, the handball, whatever it's called, FIFA handball? Probably not FIFA handball, but have you had a go at it before?
Yeah, I had a crack at it. It's not much chop, that one. I don't know. It's just something. It doesn't flow very smoothly as a video game handball. Right. I don't think.
Okay, it's kind of like whenever you get like an AFL video game, you think this will be awesome, and it's never quite up to the standards you're expecting.
No, it's just all choppy. You can't, you know, like a handball's very free flowing.
Yeah.
As a video game, it's I'm going to lock it in and I'm going to pass here and pass.
Were you ever in one? Like sort of in any of the leagues you played in? Did you end up sort of in any teams in any of the video games?
In the video games, no. The Australian team was actually in the original launch.
Right.
What's it called? I think Handball Challenge, I think it's called.
Okay.
So I think they're up to their fourth version now, but I think in the first version you can play as Australia.
Okay. Track it down.
I think it's It's the team from 2011 World Championships.
Okay. Oh, so you just missed out then. So
yeah, so I wasn't in it, but that's okay.
Damn.
All the guys have low rankings. I don't want to be part of that.
Exactly.
I want 99s or I'm out. Yeah.
Can't you bump it up? Aren't there cheat codes where you can sort of go in there and just boost it all up, right? You do. I do that in NBA. Like in NBA 2K, you just make yourself like everyone 99, or your team's like a 0. I'm winning every game by like 500 points. I'm really good at this.
No, you know what? Like, actually, it's funny because the ad for the game, it says like right at the end, like, and if you really want a challenge, go and win the World Championships as Australia. They were definitely taking the piss out of us.
That's a bit of a dick move, handball makers. Like, who's the shittest country in the world to play handball? Australia. Well, win the world. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm kind of glad I missed out on that one, really.
Well, how about we go ahead and we get Norway, Denmark, France. Or if you want to win the World Championships of cricket, then play as Norway or Denmark or France. You know, come on. Get it right back at them that way. Wow. Jesus, I didn't realize that could happen in the world of handball. That World Championship experience in 2013, what was that? Yeah. What was that like?
Oh, yeah, incredible. So, I mean, we played in Madrid and we were in the same group as Spain. So without talking about the result, you know, just the experience of actually being out there in front of, I think we had a crowd of 10,000.
Wow. There wouldn't even be 10,000 handball players in Australia, I can imagine, Caleb.
No, not even close, I don't think. Yeah, it's not something that you can replicate very often, I think. I have this very distinct memory of that game, actually, because we actually took the lead 3-0. So it's a bit of a funny one. Like, obviously, everyone's come up there expecting Spain to trounce us, and then they get a good show, and eventually they did. But, you know, we started really well, and they started just, like, classic. I think, you know, they hit the crossbar, and maybe, like, a goalkeeper made a save. So we took the lead 3-0, and I just remember the crowd was dead silent. trotting on back to defense, and you could hear the ball rolling along because it has resin on it, so it has that sticky sort of. I could hear it rolling across the ground. I'm like, wow, okay. So yeah, I don't think I'll ever forget that one.
That's crazy. That's what an amazing memory that would be there. But I mean, it must be. You know, how do you go into a world championship like that, knowing realistically that maybe you're probably not going to get a win, you know, they're not going to be progressing out of that? Is it a case of you're told, let's get within a certain amount of goals, let's lead by 3-0 against Spain to quiet the crowd? Like, I mean, kind of what does a team set goals as when realistically there might not be much you can take from a tournament like that?
Yeah, exactly. You know, obviously against the bigger teams like Spain, Croatia, Egypt, even, you know, we had our own team goals, and it's about, okay, like concede less than this, score more than this. Like, let's focus on, I guess, a rate. This against Croatia, we specifically had. So, like in 2011, they played Croatia, and they had one player, a bigger pivot, that scored 10 goals. So in 2013, I go, all right, like, this is not the guy that's going to beat us this time. We're going to make sure that he doesn't score. I think we had the goal of like keeping less than 2. We kept it to 0, which was nice. Yeah, so against obviously those bigger teams, you have those sorts of goals. This is big at like later stages, and you have placement round, that sort of thing. Like, so we had games against Chile was our last game, the 23-24, and obviously the goal there is win, and it was, you know, within reach. I think we lost by 6 or 7 in the end. You know, but in those rounds, it's not out of reach, and definitely you're sort of chasing the wins there against those teams.
Because it's always those ones. I love talking to athletes in sort of these sports where you have placement games, and we talk a lot about this during an Olympics. Like, what the fuck is the point of having a placement for ninth? Who gives a shit? But like at the same time, I can imagine for a country in a sport where, you know, making the World Championships is your gold medal, that, yeah, if you can come away from that and not finish 24th and finish 23rd, that's a big deal. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, like, even if you want to talk specifically about it, for us, like, we need to show some progress. I mean, we're talking about like funding, sponsorship, these sorts of things. Like, if we can show that we're improving then our chances of getting that funding, they're getting that sponsorship, they're getting better as well. If we just show up, lose the group games, and then, your tournament's over, then what's the attraction? And then the other thing is that, hey, the more games we play, the better it is for us. Mm-hmm. So it's great that there's placement rounds and all that sort of stuff.
And against obviously opposition, like I don't imagine Chile's often on the phone to you going, hey, Australia want to have a friendly handball game. Like it's probably a rare occasion that you get to play countries outside of your region at events like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's very rare for us to get out of Oceania, even in terms of like friendlies of the national team. Get to like Japan, that sort of stuff. We're starting it now that we've been in Asia now for 6-7 years. So now we're starting to get some connections there in terms of, hey, we can show up to this tournament 2 weeks early and get some friendly games in, that sort of thing. Build some of those connections that way, and that's something that's going to help a lot.
And obviously, Spain went on to win the gold. Croatia won the bronze in that tournament. So, you get to play against two of the medalists there. I mean, the question I got to ask, going back to the whole video game scenario of them being dicks, are the Spanish and the Croatians on the court basically saying to you, going like, hey, try to play as you guys in the bloody video game. You guys suck. This should be it. Like, is there trash talking going on there out in the court?
No, the Spanish guys were really nice. I remember specifically, like, we were having a good chat. It's a bit funny. They sort of, I don't know. I guess they don't understand the whole, like, oh, hey, like, qualifying for us was a huge win, and yeah, we want that 23rd place, because after the group phase we were chatting to them, and oh guys, like, you got to hit this pub in Madrid and this club, and we're like, man, we got to go play placement games. Like, these are the games we're going to win.
They're so focused on the fact that you're easy beats, you'll be gone in 3 weeks, mate. Go off and get pissed. Like, no, we've got more to play. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look, like it's Madrid. It's a great city, and definitely, most people probably go there. They want to experience it. And then on the other side, like Croatia, I mean, they were nice about it, but they have a little more of that, I guess, like banter. And particularly like with Australia, because we have those former Yugoslav guys, so they're always just throwing a little bit of trash talk at us. Everyone obviously, like, you'll dine in the same room. Everyone's having lunch and dinner in the same room. I remember before we played them, they were definitely throwing some chat at some of the Serbian boys.
Which I was going to say, with a language barrier, what do you know you're being trash talked to? Like, can you just kind of tell by the tone of them, or do they come and speak to you in like broken English or something? Hello, you're shit, or something like that. Like, that's all they learn.
Oh. No. So we were leaving. I remember we were leaving the dining room. I think it must have been lunch before our game against Croatia. And they were just, "Oh, boys, don't worry. Have the extras dessert tonight. We've got an easy run."
Wow. Jeez. Okay. Again, challenge them to cricket. I'm just telling you, they give you shit. You say, mate, I've got a bat and a ball and some stumps. Come and have a game with me, my friend. Let's even the playing field. There should be like a leg like going on there for these countries who, you think of like America and the UK, they're good at every bloody sport. But like, there are obviously some countries that are really good at like one sport that are then really bad at other sports. So like, again, cricket is very fringe sport in only certain parts of the world. Handball, only certain parts of the world. Let's have an Olympics where we get these sports and have it over 2 legs. Right? So Croatia might beat us by 30 goals in handball. Good for them. But we're going to beat them by an innings and 3 wickets in bloody cricket. So we win the overall gold medal. I'm just saying that makes it fair.
Come up with some sort of aggregate system to beat them.
Exactly. I'm just trying to work that out there. Just on the Oceania Championships. So 2012. Now, you go to a World Championship and the results aren't fantastic in terms of that level of what you're wanting. But then in the Oceania Championships, you're beating New Zealand 31-10. I mean, that's a whooping. So, I mean, do you just kind of leave those ones and go, crap, we should have beaten them by, another 10 goals. It's only New Zealand in handball. I mean, how does that work?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's about having specific goals for that match. I think our goal was to keep them under 10. So we lost that one.
Damn it.
But, I mean, obviously for us, it's a chance to practice, and get to know each other, because we don't get to play those matches. So look, like, rotate through everyone, try out all the different combinations, all the different tactics that you want to run through. And not to disparage them too much. Like New Zealand, they're definitely improving. There's an argument that they're improving at a much faster rate than Australia. And like it's good for them as well. And that's why I think the Asian Championships it's been hugely beneficial. So they get the invite to the Asian Championships as well, which is massive for them. And then, the Oceania, it's interesting. Like that particular year, New Zealand, I think, is the only country that can afford to come to Australia. But in any other year, you might have like Tahiti and New Caledonia. And whilst they're not technically eligible because they're French colonies to qualify, they really bump up the level. There's actually some pretty good handball, as you can imagine. In a French colony, France actually have like a development academy in New Caledonia. So you have some pretty good handball coming out of some kids there. It really it does provide like a decent level for us to play against.
It's fascinating to hear that, because obviously with Haven, she was talking a lot about obviously the level of handball in Quebec, say, versus the rest of Canada in terms of sort of having those roots tied into France and that. Just when it comes to facilities wise, I mean, in the lead up to Brisbane, will there be sort of a improvement on facilities that you guys can handle, or do you sort of have to do a lot of this training overseas to kind of have a betterment? I mean, I guess the long-winded way of asking is, will there be funding to be put into the sport enough that there can be a designated facility that Australians can train in the lead up to Brisbane?
Yeah, look, it's something we've been after for a while. Is to have a home, something that we can permanently use as, all right, hey, every time we want to get the national team together, let's bring them in. And we've had like the Sydney, so the Olympic Stadium is a legacy venue. So we essentially have access to that. I mean, theoretically, whenever we want, but there's a lead-in time. We haven't got that in Brisbane yet. Like in terms of facilities, they're there, but we still sort of lose out priority-wise to no, futsal have their season booked in advance, and there's basketball every night at this stadium. And I mean, like at UQ, for example, we have competing with badminton bookings constantly.
Classic badminton. What can we say?
Everywhere.
Yeah. Bloody hell. Come on. Which, I mean, is obviously, it leads into pursuing opportunities in the sport. Europe, obviously, the hotbed. You've played in Slovenia. You're obviously in the UK at the moment. What is the reception like to an Australian trying to make it in the leagues in handball? Is it added challenges, I guess? Does it come to somebody coming from a country which, again, handball, not a traditional sport?
Yeah, I think it adds a challenge, but I mean, you can always show. Like, so actually, I played in Spain for about a year and a half after the World Championships. So I went over in 2014. Yes, 2014. And you can always sort of say, look, like I haven't come from a handball country, but I've been at this level. Like I've played against the best in the world. Who have you played against? Not in that way, but just look like.
Looks good on the resume, basically, that you've competed at that level.
Not intimidating, to be in. You can come into this league and be like, look, like, all right, like these teams are better than what we play in Australia, and like, okay, for me, this is like a challenging level, but they're not as good as those guys that we played against in Spain. So whatever, there's nothing to lose, there's nothing to be afraid of. Get out there, show you what you can do.
Is there a peak league that everybody aims to play in? Like, so say like the Premier League, it might be in football. Like, what is kind of that league that if you're progressing through the ranks in handball, is it in Denmark, Norway, France, kind of one of those sort of countries? Yeah,
Germany. I mean, so there is a Champions League. Same way as football, you're going to get a number of teams from a number of countries. In terms of like a single domestic league, the German Bundesliga is definitely the peak. And it's probably just because the spread of the teams is less than it is in most other countries. So like France have a good league, Spain have a good league. Obviously, like Denmark, Norway, these countries, they all have good leagues. Slovenia has a good league as well. But I think you start to see a little bit, I don't know, I mean, this is just my opinion, but the Champions League, it creates sort of issues where in Slovenia, for example, you get one club qualifies for the Champions League. And okay, so the club is in the Champions League, which means, hey, like all the young kids playing handball in Slovenia, oh, this is the club I want to play for. And they get a little bit more money from sponsorship. They have a little bit, so, it attracts more of the players and they have more money. So it just sort of snowballs into getting like, this club is compounding and compounding. They get access to this league, which means they get more funding. They get more sponsorship, which means they get better players, which means they stay in this league. But Germany, you don't have that. You have 3-4 teams that are going to qualify for the Champions League, and it's different almost every year. Within the Bundesliga, anyone can beat anyone on any day.
Wow. That's what we like. We like a competitive sort of tournament when it comes to any sport like that. Fascinating to learn that. You're in the UK right now. So what's, I guess, the handball scene like in the UK?
Yeah, it's similar to what it is like in Australia. It's a little bit better structured. So it's actually really interesting for me because they're obviously about 10 years post holding the Olympics. So what you're starting to see now is, I guess, a lot of the kids who were like me in 2012. They saw the Olympics, they wanted to get involved. And now that they've been playing for a couple of years and they're really developing their skills. So it's similar in that, okay, like the club that I'm playing with, it's a lot of, there's some French expats, some Spanish expats, a couple of Polish guys. Like, you get that to sort of bolster the competition, and then you have like, okay, yeah, there's a young British guy who just finished his tour of duty with the youth national team. There's a guy who's in the senior national team now, and another one who played a couple of years ago. So it's similar culturally like that, but the organizational structure of the league is a little bit better, I would say. And again, I think a lot of that has to do with everything just being closer and, driving distance as opposed to having to fly somewhere to play a game.
Yeah, obviously I'll be very close here. But I mean, the good news I will say that we can say as an Australian perspective against the UK and Great Britain, obviously traditional rivals, at the Sydney Olympics, the men's team played 5, lost 5 with a goal difference of -72. At the London Olympics, Britain went 5 losses for a goal difference of -86. So I'm saying we beat the UK in terms of home Olympics. We didn't suck as much as they did. So
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we can hold that, but we have actually played them a couple of times and lost.
Oh, we don't talk about those. That doesn't count. The Olympics is where it counts, Caleb. Come on, what does that count? Who cares? The Olympics is where it's at. They lost by more goals. So I'm saying right now, come on now, Britain, pick your game up. Can we have an Ashes, like a handball Ashes? Is this something that we need to get going?
We could, but I guess UK is a similar spot to Australia where funding is tight. And so, you're paying a lot of money, I guess, to come and play against
small humps, Caleb. We can work that. We can find some rich person in the Middle East, I'm sure. Right?
Sure, exactly. If someone wants to have an Ashes and put up the cash, then let's go. We'll do it for sure.
Exactly. I'm telling you now, we can make it happen somewhere. It's going to take off after Brisbane. This will be the fairy tale story of the Olympics. I mean, I remember back in 2000 that one of my favourite gold medals was Simon Fairweather winning archery. Australia never won a medal in archery in the history of the Olympics. Won a freaking gold. And I mean, I don't know if archery really took off much after that. Should have. Great sport. Other conversation. But I'm saying we can do the fairy tale in 2032. It'll be our version of the miracle on ice. It'll be the miracle on court. And, you would have gone on as a 43-year-old, gold medal around your neck. You'd just be dreaming of that moment. And handball, crazy. Australia, 2033, it will overtake the AFL as the biggest sport in the country. Easy. I'm not expecting us to overtake the AFL, but there's definitely something I'm really excited for is what it's going to look like in sort of that 2033, 2034. I think that there's something that we definitely learned the lesson from Sydney about. Look, like it's important to use the lead up to focus on the teams that are going to be competing at the Olympics, but it's also important to make sure we're putting things in place so that when there's some hype after the Olympics, we can really hit the ground running. So a lot of that stuff is now what we're trying to work on is getting more coaches accredited, getting more referees accredited, so we can actually let's have everything up and running and professional.
professionally organized, let's say. But so, when the time comes, we're ready to go.
Which it is going back to my point about that unique period we find ourselves in this country around the Olympics, that there is kind of a gap where we're all of age, people like you and I, none of these young kids we get on the show, who obviously remember the Sydney Olympics, and we've still got people involved in administration and coaching in all the sports who will still have that foothold in the sports come 2032. And as you say, exactly, learning from maybe past experiences when it comes to these smaller sports. You think of something, say, like an indoor volleyball, where Australia wouldn't traditionally qualify for an Olympics outside of hosting it. All these other sports where you can learn from that. And as you said, go, well, some things worked, some things didn't. Let's make it better post-Brisbane.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to see some interesting levels. Like the USA with the Los Angeles Olympics, they're sort of 4 years ahead of us.
Yeah.
And, they're progressing along a path that we would very much love to follow. Like, they did a really good job, setting up their university-based league, and they set themselves up an academy, and that's really paying off. I mean, they just won 2 games at the World Championships, which is just wild. They qualified for their first World Championship in 20 years or something, and come out and win 2 games. That's a dream in terms of development, I think. And it's something that we can definitely follow along. Look, like, I mean, the USA, obviously bigger population, but they have the same sort of challenges as us, where they have these really dominant sports that everyone wants to play, and then they've got to try and drag people off. Okay, like, oh, hey, look, like, you're a pretty good basketball player. Come try this. And we have the same sort of thing. Like, look, you're a good AFL player. You're not good enough. You're never going to make it.
Yeah.
But come over here, learn this sport, because in 9 years you could be an Olympian.
Is there a sport, like, which sport in Australia do you guys get a lot of recruiting? Is it AFL? Is it basketball, netball? Like, I mean, because all the combinations, obviously, that come with the sport of handball.
Yeah, I mean, basketball is probably the predominant one, like, just for the popularity, I'd say. But we've had, I guess, success stories from every sport. But like, one of our best players in the national team right now was an AFL player. Volleyball, I think, in my opinion, if you were looking for like similar skills, volleyball is the best sport, save for the contact in defense. But like, in terms of the lateral movement and jumping and that sort of overhead motion in a jump, like, that spiking or jump serving skill translates, I think, best to the jump shot in handball, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I came from baseball, I guess, was my like baseball, basketball were probably competing to be my like major sports when I was in high school. So definitely a combination of those two that helped me so much. Look, like,
baseball's an interesting one. Where do you sort of, what do you get from, what can you bring from baseball to handball?
Look, throwing, obviously.
Throwing,
like,
simple, yeah.
Yeah. Throwing is massive. And if you can come into the sport and be able to throw, and we have some issues with that in Australia. Like, basketball players, a lot of them can't throw a ball. AFL players can't throw a ball.
Yeah, you're not allowed to. From rugby,
yeah. Can't lift their arm above this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like footy guys who live like this. And throwing is, I mean, obviously, it's massive skill. You can't score a goal without throwing a ball. So
true. Yeah, that's fascinating.
You can throw. It's easy to learn everything else, I think. But
it's kind of like, I guess, what is it? The whole dodgeball mentality. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. If you can throw a baseball, you can throw a handball. So kind of connect the dots with that way. We'll get to some closing out questions in just a moment, sort of get you pumped up and amped, obviously, for your 2032 Olympic appearance. But just one thing I wanted to touch on, the Emerging Nations Championship that Australia just competed in, finished in 6th place in that. I can imagine tournaments such as those are big deals for Australia and all emerging nations. I mean, kind of what was that experience like, and a 6th position, an improvement on the last time in the tournament? So do you sort of leave that tournament heads held high and proud of that?
Yeah, no, that one for sure we were super excited about. And there's a lot of, there's a lot of positive things from that I mean, they don't really reflect on the scoreboard. Finishing that last game with a loss to GB, not great, but
just mention the Olympics, Caleb. Mention the Olympics.
No, look, I don't think anyone's too upset about it. It was a strange format in a tournament, and I think everyone pretty much agrees that GB probably deserved to be second. They got a bit unlucky to draw Cuba in the group stage, and they got all of a sudden they finished fifth instead of second. But there's a lot of positives from that, and like for that, we had a lot of young guys who came out there into leadership, let's say into key positions on the court, and they really had to step up and take charge. So we had two 18-year-old playmakers playing that whole tournament, and to come out there and they're 18, playing an under 24s tournament with, by the way, like two of the more experienced guys from the national team either side of them, and they came out, they took charge, they did a really great job, leading the whole game. So there's a lot of positives from that. And, even little things like we had our win against Moldova, where we sort of had a bit of a wane in the second half, and they went on a bit of a run and caught up and drew even with us, and we were able to rally and get back out in front. And that's something that's like we're notoriously been bad at in the past, where we can get out on a good run and start a game well, but once it starts dropping, it just keeps going down and down and down and down and down. It's really good to sort of see those sorts of things happen as well, where we can be excited about how everyone's skills are developing, but also just, I guess, their psychological readiness to be in the game and play the game and be sort of aware of the situation and how it's going to affect you and be able to, rally when things go the wrong way and fix things when they're not working. Right?
Yeah, for sure. All those learning experiences, obviously, that can be used just more and more sort of moving forward. Before I get to the final questions, though, I'm fascinated for anybody who's listening or watching this today, if they want to get involved in handball. Is it a simple case of heading to the Federation website and kind of finding connections to clubs? Because obviously we want to get more people playing the sport, Caleb.
Yeah, you can head to the Handball Australia website. It's probably the easiest way. Otherwise, just give it straight up at Google, or if you search, you probably can search on Instagram or Facebook, and you'll find your closest club. By all means, reach out. You can find the men's national team on Facebook. Reach out, tell me where you are, and we can find you a club or somewhere to play.
Simple. That easy. There you go. And we'll get one started in Tasmania. We need to get this federation going, don't we, Kate? Come on. We where are these Tassie handball players? All right, I'll put my hand up. I'm like 2 years older than you, I think. So, might have a bit of work to do. But I'm never giving up on this Olympic dream, all right? It's going to happen one day. Yep. Until they put podcasting in the Olympics, I'm kind of, I've got to do some options out there. But we wrap up every interview with a set of get to know you, fun style questions. As always, these are based on a set of questions that Team Canada gave their athletes ahead of both the Rio and Pyeongchang Olympics. Now, sadly, they never interviewed a handball player because they didn't have a handball team at the Rio Olympics. So I've gone with our good old friend Gavin Schmitty, as we like to call him, a volleyball player for Team Canada at the Rio Olympics. And I thought, volleyball, handball, even you said there's sort of, you can take some parallels with them. So I'm going to start off with your favourite ever Olympic moment is.
Oh, geez. I reckon I have to go with Steve Hooker.
Oh, yes. We never get that answer. And I love that. I remember watching that live. The old paddle pop lion getting the pole vault gold. Yep. Fantastic. Random thing. I was in Melbourne, I think a year ago, and I just walked past him. It's just one of those random things like, Olympic gold medalist just walking down the street in Melbourne. He's like, shit. All right, cool. I like that one. Great shout. Never hear that one on here. I like that answer. If you could choose any Olympic host city, where would it be?
Well, you mean other than Brisbane?
Yeah.
You know what? I actually love Madrid as a city. I think, for me, if I was going to go to an Olympics, in Madrid, I think that'd be phenomenal.
They've come close a bunch of times this millennium. I think they're up there with Istanbul as having lost the most bids. So they're due, I think, basically. Obviously, everyone loves the Barcelona Olympics, so Spain Definitely knows how to put on an Olympics. In your spare time, what do you most like to do?
Ooh, apart from playing Handball Challenge 4, let's see.
As Australia, where you can win gold.
Try and take Australia to the World Championship.
I'm so doing that. I'm tracking that game down. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to go, hey, everyone, suck it. Australia can do it.
Let's see if you can find that. Look, I'm looking for some new hobbies. As a Queenslander, I get out a lot of hiking, that sort of thing. Access to a lot of them. In Tasmania, you must have a lot of similar places.
Definitely have a few.
Some of those hikes down in Tassie, I'd love to go on.
Do the three capes
in the future.
The old overland track, all those kind of fun ones, and that sort of side things. I lived in Brisbane for a little bit, and is it Tambourine Mountains not too far from Brisbane? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Yeah, Tamborine's a nice one. You can get down there for a day, easy enough. Lamington National Park as well. Get some really good ones. Yeah.
Do you? How long has it been sort of since you've actually sort of lived back here in Australia? Do you get homesick a lot?
Yeah, I was living there 6 months ago.
Right. So not too bad then.
I don't know if I'd say I get homesick for Australia. Obviously, you miss people that you've grown up with, and you always have that look like home is always going to be home. I grew up spent first 22 years of my life in Brisbane. You know where everything is. You know where your favorite pad thai is. You know where the best coffee is. You know where it's Sunday afternoon and the sun's out. I'm going to go have a beer here. Those sorts of things. Yeah, it's nice to have in your life, but on the other hand, you have the adventure of learning new ones in a different city.
Exactly. And then you can put on Origin 3 times a year, and then you can just get sucked straight back into that then, can't you? So
I was born in New South Wales, so
all right, okay, interesting. So that must have been fun growing up then in Queensland.
Yeah, fun old time. Well, actually, when I was in school, it wasn't so bad. New South Wales were going a lot better.
Well, that's the weird thing too, because now that I live in Sydney and I actually go for a Sydney-based NRL team, yet I go for Queensland. So it doesn't make sense that I go for Queensland. But hey, you got
pretty odd.
Spite. Sure. As a Tasmanian, we don't give a shit really. We're just like, whatever, that'll do. So when you're 5 years old, that colour's better than blue. I'll go for that one. Yeah. So you kind of stick with it. What is the weirdest instruction a coach has ever given you?
Look, I'm not going to say it's super weird, but I guess my interpretation of it was a bit silly. So we had a new coach come into the team 2015, and he was at that stage, handball was a bit more it was a lot more fighty and wrestly and strength based, right? And so he was obsessed. Everyone need to get bigger and stronger. And at the time I was about 98 kilos, and he's like, well, I'd love to see you at 105. So here I am, all right, got 6 months to the Oceania Championship. I'm going to put on 7 kilos. Let's see how this goes. So to start, no worries. I'm a freshly graduated exercise sports science student. I know how to do this. So I get out there. Yeah, look, I got to 103. But it just sucked, we had a training camp and I was at 103 kilos and I got my ankles and my knees were sore. I'm like, this is not for me.
Wow. Jeez. So, did he go off at you then because you're 2 kilos short?
Nah, I think he was all pretty happy with it.
Oh, that's all right then. As
long as I got stronger for sure.
You tried.
It's better.
Yes.
It was interesting because it's sort of okay, some aspects of the game they get better. Look, it is better for defense, and it's more fun when you're fighting someone, breaking through and tossing them off you. But at the same time, look, if you want to be speedy and jump high and shake people one-on-one, then
probably not going to help you too much.
Kilos ain't really the way to do that.
So you mentioned that was sort of back then. Nowadays, is it more about the speed and the agility more so than that strength and fighting, is it?
Yeah, the game is just it is insane how fast it is now. It's just getting faster and faster. And they're changing the rules a lot because they want the game to be quicker and faster. And you're just starting to see more possessions in the game, more attacks, more shots on goal. I mean, obviously, this is what they want, right? Is they want more goals in the game because they think that that's the most exciting part. I mean, there are some purists who are a little bit upset about that, like in terms of, look, they want to see some good hard defense, and which is not wrong. It is nice to see a defensive battle sometimes, but for me, I love transition and counter-attacking and, playing an offensive style defense, and the game is definitely sort of progressing towards that now, which is great.
Show the highlight reels to the kids on those video games, and then they're in, right? And they're wearing that green and gold. Brisbane.
Exactly.
On that topic, actually, it's great that this leads into this next question. Your favorite workout is?
Oh God, as a strength and conditioning coach.
This is a tough one, then, or is it a I don't know? Like you're like, secretly, I hate them all.
I don't know. They're all very specific. I mean, let's keep it simple. So my little my off-season goal for the last couple of years has been to get my 400-meter sprint time down. So let's put that one up there as my favorite. It actually sucks the most. It's god awful, but I don't know. It's in terms of like I guess a rewarding challenge. I think that when you achieve your goals in that one, it's nice. And like strength and conditioning, like it's something that's easy to have, like some nice specific goals. Handball is always like, how do you set an objective goal in a match? Like you can't sort of say, oh, look, like my goal this game is to score 7 goals. And then, you never know, like the team could come out playing defense in some way that prevents that. Or it might just be that the guy on the other side of the court for you is having the best game of his life. And the best play that game is to, all right, no, absolutely the best thing we can do in this game is work for him to shoot. So, it is nice to have, I guess, that side of your training where, look, I have, these are my specific objective targets.
Simple. I like that. I like how that works. If you could have lunch with any one person, who would it be?
Ooh. Any one person. It's a toss-up. I think I'd have to say Michael Jordan.
Yes. That would be a good lunch.
Yeah. I would have maybe said Kobe Bryant, but let's go Michael.
Let's go Michael. Are you a big NBA follower?
No, I wouldn't say so. I was for sure in high school when it was prime Kobe time. I'll flick the game on every now and again, but I don't avidly sort of follow along with it.
I was going to say, does that make you a Lakers man? And do I not talk about that right now at the time of recording this? Or
Yes. If I had to choose a team, I would be a Lakers guy, I guess.
Okay, that's fine. But neither of my teams made the playoffs, so it's fine. I don't have anything to gloat about, but it's just more of a case of I like seeing the Lakers lose. So, I mean,
Yeah, I think everyone's a bit like that.
Yes, can't go against that one. Your favourite sandwich is? Tough questions.
I think just like a good just chicken and avo.
Yeah, kind of works. Yeah, are you a white bread or a wholemeal or a multigrain man?
Oh, we're all about the sourdough.
I was going to say I left that out. I hope you would pick up on it. There it is. I love it. Sourdough's always the answer. Let's be honest. It's the. Have you ever tried making it? I've not tried. I've watched a friend make it once, and I did not realize how hard it is.
It's a bit wild, right? You got
I know. Just for some bread. I'm just go to Coles and buy some. That's too hard. Come on, get off that one. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Oh, geez. Not invincibility. I don't know. But it's a toss-up between like flight and teleportation. I don't know.
Just being able to get places pretty easy. Like, I'm bored.
Yeah, exactly. Either way about, being able to get somewhere, I think would be.
Well, you mentioned like your favourite pad thai and your favourite coffee in Brisbane. You could just I'm hungry. What am I going to let's duck down to South Bank. Let's, I'm in London, but that won't take me long to do that one. Best candy. The best candy in the world to you, Caleb, is?
The best candy. I love actually those Allen's peaches and cream.
Oh, yes. Yum. That's a good answer.
I remember actually they started putting just the solo peaches and cream packets out, right?
Yeah. I love it when they do things like, because didn't they like people say only wanted a certain color snake, so wouldn't they have like the red snakes only or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like and then like with the jelly beans they would do it where they would, because no one liked the black jelly beans, but some people love them, so they would sell like purely black jelly beans, and it's interesting. Good marketing ploys by Alan Zen. They're smart people in those industries, right?
They're probably losing out money. I used to just buy the party mix and then pick it out.
Just pick them out, do that sort of stuff. You might have answered this. Your favorite sports team as a kid was?
I actually have to go with a baseball team, and it was the Arizona Diamondbacks. As a kid.
Interesting. Okay. Any particular reason why the Diamondbacks?
I can't remember. Randy Johnson. I don't know. I think that might have been the team that we saw. So we, did a trip to the States as a young kid, and I think we might have seen them play.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That works.
We definitely saw them play. Sorry, should I?
I love it that when you try to explain, because anybody who follows North American sports, you choose a team, and we're on the other side of the world, so it's not really a simple case of whatever. But like, you went to a city, you saw a game, you like a player. Like the Bulls are one of my two teams in the NBA because I grew up in the '90s, so of course I'm going to go for the Bulls and Jordan and stuff like that. So it's kind of it's fascinating when you kind of do that. But I like that. Did you see baseball in Sydney when you went down to the Olympics?
So my dad was actually coaching
at the Olympics or just in general?
No, at the Olympics.
Oh, there you go. All right. There's those Olympic connections. It's a family business almost there, Caleb. The Brisbane is on the horizon. So somehow or another that's going to work. I love that. Your favourite sports movie is?
I reckon Any Given Sunday or Coach Carter. No, I think Any Given Sunday.
Good answers. Yeah. I like that. I love Smitty's answer here. Basketball, classic movie. One that's got to be talked about more, I think.
A very Canadian answer.
Yes, exactly. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Jeez. I don't know. I should probably say London. I think it would be Madrid. Honestly, I really think that's...
Big fans of Madrid. That's left an impact. Those Spanish players on the court telling you to go to those bars. It worked. Your heart's still there.
Yeah, he was on it. Yeah.
I like that. I love this question because you can interpret this however the hell you want. When you were little, what was one thing you always thought?
One thing I always thought, Charmander was better than Squirtle.
Yes, I'd agree with that. You always started with Charmander, You never started with Squirtle or Bulbasaur. Come on. He had fire in his tail. Like, that exactly. Wins any debate. Anyway, so I stop there. Don't bother thinking anymore. That's a great answer. I love that one. Last one, because the actual last one is a written one, and we obviously can't really do that on a podcast, but your favourite joke to tell. If you've got one, if you've got a joke, is there a go-to joke you always have?
What do we go with? A man walked into a bar and said, "Ouch."
I feel like I need it. Give me. Try that again. I actually can have a sound effect that can go along with that.
Oh, okay. Man walks into a bar, says, "Ouch."
There we go. I need to make use of these situations going on next to me. I absolutely love that. Caleb, that is fantastic. I love hearing that, and it's a perfect way to end it. Before we let you go, social media, anything that people can follow your journey on as you continue on your handball career and push towards 2032?
Yeah, I mean, you can track me down on Instagram, just Caleb Gahen, nice and easy. I have that unique last name, so I got a nice, easy username as well.
Simple.
Yeah, but I think I prefer track men's handball. I was women's handball as well, by the way, but
of course,
I think we've got a little more going on this year. Well, I shouldn't say that. The girls have Asian champs December. Yeah,
there we go. We can follow them, and we're going to get them a nickname. Caleb. We need to
Yeah,
find one as
come up with
well,
that, huh?
so people can sort of send some suggestions in along the way. Caleb, mate, it's been such an honour to be able to chat to you about the sport of handball. I could sit here for another 5 hours and talk to you about it. I mean, literally, when I got selected to choose tickets, I had my 5 sports that I wrote down, and I straight away automatically the top 3 were modern pentathlon, handball, and archery. Now, modern pentathlon and archery were sold out, and handball wasn't.
Really?
Yeah, they were sold out. So, boom, got my handball tickets. I was a happy man. So, yeah, they love arrows and 5 sports all at once in Paris. So, there you go. But Caleb, such an honour to have you on here, mate. And maybe I'll bump into you in Paris, and we'll grab a croissant at the bronze medal games next year.
For sure. Mate, absolutely. Be my pleasure.